Ah, that's quite interesting. This issue of our nurses and midwives stranded abroad. What do you say? How do someone respond to a situation where the government decides to be punitive because the some section of the workforce, due to so many factors, among which was the situation at home. I mean, lack of conducive working environment, poor remuneration, decided to move abroad. Now we learn that the Nigerian National Nurses and Midwives the Commission seems to have shut down the verification portal. Of course, the portal is essential for the professionals, I mean, the nurses, doctors, where their status back home is usually verify whether they were duly registered at home to practice nursing. Now, most of them are now stranded. I mean, it is wicked. It is wicked. It's punitive. That's not the way to dissuade people from migrating to where they can fulfill they will feel fulfilled as professionals. No, it's not the best way. I mean, and even the country itself is shooting itself in the foot. One, these professionals, when they migrate and are gainfully employed, do remit home. I mean, the home remittances also increase the GDP. Our economy is made buoyant by their remittances. Apart from the fact that they also have obligations to families left behind at home. Let us be clear about it. Apart from the rights of people to move, we all know that it is not always easy for people to take decision to leave the comfort zone of family and friends. But sometimes people become economic migrants, and this is what most of these nurses are. Well, people who visit our hospitals, we know the condition there. That just like the classrooms in the universities, I mean, most academics do not have the best of environment to work with. People sometimes we mix up things, even where the money is not competitive in terms of international billing system. If you have a conducive working environment, you may not necessarily leave. A lot of generation before me, and even my own generation who opted to be in the university, had options to work elsewhere. In the late 70s, early 80s, when my generation left the universities, I mean, the job options were still there. I came to be interviewed by NSO, now SSS, UAC was there. I mean, they were coming to the campuses to recruit. They call them, what do they call them? Management. I mean, management trainee. Of course, the civil service job was there. The Lever Brothers, now Unilever, were going all by the campuses and talking to final year students. I mean, giving them opportunities. But I mean, when you look at the lifestyle of our teachers, very confident, self-assured, the independence that converge on campuses. On campus, I mean, you opted to be in the university system as a teacher, but 10 years down the line, in fact, I'm not too sure whether any of my teachers who taught me at Ife are still around. Even those who have not reached the retirement age are no longer there, and most of them left in the mid-retirement period. So, as to the nurses, I think it is not right. Do you realize that in our teaching hospitals, anybody suffering from cancer need to risk to go sell his grandmother or mothers in order to do those basic things like bone scanning, MRI, because our teaching hospitals do not have them. In this part of the world, I know that only one teaching hospital has bone scanning machine. Patients in other teaching hospital within the geopolitical zone do refer people. The one that has MRI do not have bone scanning machine. That's their nuclear science department, and one that has MRI do not have bone scanning. So, what are we talking about? You you get a situation where you cannot even use the toilets in a ward if you're admitted into our wards. Most nurses and doctors cannot work effectively under this environment. Where the basic thing like sutures. So when you go to any hospitals in Nigeria today, you may need to go with your generator. You may need to go with your oxygen, cylinder. Of course, they will read for you bottles of water that you need to bring. Even for your own drink, you also may need to go with your bottles of water, needle, syringe, everything that will be needed in pre-surgery and post-surgery. It is that bad. Now, these nurses are now going to face a lot of legal issues. Most of them will have to return home, despondent, coming back to meet the same country, which they ran away from. The truth is, in the 70s, when people travel out of the country to go study, you can be sure that they normally returned a week or two after they must have finished their program. That was a country. That was a country. I think the government needs to rethink this and quickly reopen the verification portal. That's not the best way to tackle the health situation we have in the country. No. They left because they couldn't be fulfilled. Now they've settled down there working, but I think maybe yearly they will need to verify. You simply shut it down because you don't deal with the symptoms, you deal with the causes. It is the same attitude that we apply to the political issues. We saw it during the NSAS protest, we saw it during the end bad governance protest. Instead of government dealing with what causes those protests, what we are busy doing is to mass arrest and now begin to try people for treason. I think we are just making ourselves a laughing stock. What kind of father, decide to shut down the gate of his house because his children have gone out to look for work to eat? Because, if you had been able to feed them, there's no way they will go out to, they don't enjoy it. Anybody who travels out and see the condition under which Nigerians live in order to make a living and in order to sustain families down here will know that it is not the best place to be if you have the right environment back in your homestead. Well, we can only appeal to the government. What can we do? We are stranded. We are saddled with insensitive and irresponsible leadership. Therefore, kí la fẹ́ ṣe ju pé ká bẹ̀ wọ́n lọ? A máa bẹ̀bẹ̀ náà ni. What can we do? These are young professionals. I was somewhere in Europe last year and I met quite a lot of young doctors. They were all trained in Benin, Ife, Ibadan, Lasso. I met about 7 of them. I can tell me some of them said, well, they still pay their registration fee annually because it's always required in order to renew their licenses for verification. But these young chaps, I'm going to look onward. I don't see any of them returning to this country. They virtually ran out. in their underpants. Some were here for about 6 years post qualification. They simply they couldn't bear to work in the kind of what our hospitals had to provide here. I'm in Ilepa here. If there are said to be general hospitals along this route. Just come and visit some of them. Come and visit them and see whether you can call those abattoirs or hospitals. Right from the frontage. Right from the frontage. I wonder whether snakes will not be crawling into the walls of some of them. Oh, my dear brother, that's where we are. Thank you.